Hello, doers of the internet, welcome back. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about Jim Beam, the whiskey alcohol that I have recently gotten into. It's an alcohol that I'm a little bit familiar with. By the way, this is going to be the first of many alcohol reviews, I guess, so to speak. I didn't intend upon writing this down as a subject of interest for me to be reviewing it per se. I was just going to talk about my experience with it. But now I'm realizing, only after the start of recording my audio for this episode, that I am going to have to review it to a certain degree. And not only that, but this is going to prompt many other kinds of alcohol reviews, depending on what is being drank at a certain moment in time. Because I've tried quite a few different ones, and I just now realized that could fill in quite a large segment or sect of topics that I could get into for these episodes, so I don't know, look forward to more of those. But anyways, Jim Beam, yeah, I've always been aware of it. Well, for a very long time, at least a few years, I knew of its existence, but any time that I would want to buy any kind of whiskey, I would always automatically go for Jack Daniel's, just because that was sort of the default that I would adhere to, that was broadcasted in popular culture, that people would often talk about drinking, that it's been the mainstay of the, I guess, quote-unquote best, if not best, then the most drank type of whiskey there is out there, at least commonly in California, where I'm from. But it's a staple brand, it's a brand that has gotten its name so far out there that, for me at least, it was hard to separate Jack Daniel's from the whiskey name. Whenever anybody brings up whiskey, I automatically think Jack Daniel's. It is the default skin. It is the first referential point that I have to attach whiskey to, which is Jack Daniel's. But I was also aware that, obviously there's different brands of whiskey, different brewers, different kinds that are all out there. And Jim Beam was, I probably wouldn't have tried it if it wasn't thrust into the focal point of my attention by one of my family members. One of my uncles was at a Christmas party recently, this last Christmas, a couple months ago, and somehow we got on the topic of whiskey. We were all just hanging out, talking, as families do during these events, and we for some reason we're talking about whiskey. I remember why we were talking about whiskey, because no, wait, I take that back. This was at Thanksgiving that this discussion came up, because we were talking about Christmas presents on Thanksgiving, because everybody was asking each other what they want to what they wanted, basically, or what they weren't even asking each other. We have this game. You know what, I'm not going to get into it. I will address this later. I don't feel like explaining it right now. It's basically a game where you pick a name, and that's the person you're buying Christmas presents for, and that's it. Draw names for the family type of thing, which is interesting. It keeps it fresh. It's cool. It keeps the holidays fresh in a way that will provide entertainment beyond just seeing family to see family kind of thing, which our family is at the point right now to where everybody is old enough to where there is really no little children running around anymore that provide the sort of nostalgic excitement for Santa Claus that provides the magic that is vicariously appreciated by everybody else around them. So the enjoyment of Christmas is just left up to the adults now to try to, you know, configure a way to get a grasp on that kind of enjoyment of the holiday again. So we do our best, and one of the things that the grandparents have come up with that provides, you know, at least you know, somewhat of a minimal boost in interest is just the fact that you don't know who's going to be getting you your Christmas present, and you don't know which of the Christmas presents you recommended to them that they're going to get, because we have this whole system. You know what, I'm explaining it already, so I'm just going to do it. System is you write down on a piece of paper 2 or 3 things that you would like for Christmas. You put your name on the front of the paper. No, you put your name and the things you would like on one side of the paper. You fold up the paper, so it's just a folded piece of paper. And everybody does this, and we all stick the pieces of paper into a hat. The hat is mixed up around, and then everybody who put a name in also now has to draw a name. And whatever name you draw, unless you draw your own, then you have to pick again. Whatever name you draw is the person that you have to buy said Christmas present for. And we keep the presents, the possible presents, pretty vague, because we're all trying to adhere to this limit that is set on the presents, which is a $50 limit. So everybody is getting around because a $50 present, whether it's, you know, a couple of presents that when combined make $50, or, you know, just one thing that could cost $50 depending on the recommendations or the requests that are provided by the person in the hat. And this keeps things, you know, moderately even. This keeps things interesting, it keeps it fresh. And on Thanksgiving, I was having a conversation with my uncle about different kinds of alcohol and whiskey. And he had recommended Jim Beam off the cuff. I guess we were talking about whiskey specifically, and he had mentioned that it was a good type of whiskey, and it was his favorite type of whiskey. And I had told him I have never tried it. And he told me it has a bit of a sweeter taste than Jack Daniel's, because that was my only point of reference that I could bring up to him. And he explained it to me as if it would be a sweeter kind of whiskey than I was used to, but also still good. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That was the description he gave me. So I end up drawing his name, coincidentally enough, for the Christmas presents, and he had requested some whiskey. So I already, it was perfect. I already had the present in mind. We had a conversation about it even, and I just so happened to draw his name, so his Christmas present was really easy for me to pick out. I just had to get him a bottle of Jim Beam, and that wasn't $50. That was about half of it. So that was like $25. So the other $25 I spent on this collection, or, you know, an artistic collage of different kinds of whiskey that were all in like smaller shot glass bottles, all surrounding this one bigger bottle in a container of a unique type of whiskey. I even forgot the name, but it was a cool set of different kinds of alcohols just so that he could try them and expand his palate. So I think I covered the bases pretty well for Christmas. I not only got him his favorite whiskey for Christmas, but I got him an assortment of other types of whiskey and alcohol that he could try that were only in, like, besides the bigger bottle, the smaller bottles were only in like a shot or two size the glass bottles. I'd see it like 3 shots per those little bottles. So enough to try, enough to get a taste for, and enough to know whether or not you would prefer that alcohol at a future time. So I not only got him exactly what he wanted, but in addition to that, got a little bit experimental with it. So I think the whole design aspect, I guess, of how I gave him this Christmas present was actually pretty well executed, and he said, he appreciated it in the long run after he unwrapped it and Christmas came around and all that, so it was good. But after hearing him talk about it, not passionately, because he wasn't like over enthused about it or anything, but after hearing him talk about it and hearing his appreciation for the kind of taste that Jim Beam left him with, I decided to try some for myself. So I did, and just like he described, I don't know if it's like a cognitive effect that or some kind of a placebo, that hearing him say that the Jim Beam would taste exactly like Jack Daniels except sweeter is why it did to me. But that's exactly how it tasted, and that's exactly how I would describe it. It's the same exact effect, it's the same feeling that whiskey gives you, the feeling like you're a country guy and you're ready to go, maybe you're ready to go hunting, or you're ready to kick back on your porch with a shotgun. I don't know. It's how can these descriptions of alcohol be summarized adequately? I'm not sure. But it's the same exact feeling that whiskey and Jack Daniels gives you, except the taste of it is just a little bit sweeter, and it provides like an extra tang going down kind of thing, which isn't bad per se. I think I still would prefer to drink Jack Daniels over Jim Beam, but I bought a whole bottle of this for myself right after Christmas because I got curious about it, and I did drink the whole bottle eventually. It took some time, but I had a few nights where I was just trying it and monitoring the effects kind of thing, and seeing how it stacks up and how it compares to Jack Daniels, and it's not bad. It's pretty good stuff. It's whiskey, but the tang and the sweetness is not something that I could get used to permanently. It is something cool to interject if you are like a pure whiskey drinker in your pattern of drinking, to try to break the monotony with something sweet. I would say that that's fine every once in a while, every now and again. I may buy it sometime in the future again, but it would have to be only on rare occasions, because I'm obviously not as much of a fan of it as he is, because it's his favorite and he buys it constantly, or whenever he buys whiskey, that's what he buys. But it's not bad. I still prefer Jack Daniels, but this kind of whiskey is good to break the monotony sometimes, occasionally, periodically, I would say. It's not the best, but it's good if, every now and again you're like, I'd like to drink some whiskey, but I want something sweet. So, pretty good. Anyways, that's it for now. I'll see you guys in the next one.